On the first look, and potatoes, and sweet potatoes look how tubers, but their similarity deceptive. Potatoes are the ones that we were eating more often in total. This is, from the point of view botanists, tuber, that is modified underground stem plants. This means that potato is part families Solanaceae, to which also belong tomatoes, eggplants, and even tobacco. Belonging to this, the key point for the family. Potatoes contain solanine, a natural toxin that does green potato parts and sprouts poisonous spores. That is its main biological feature. Historically, potatoes come from Andes in South America and requires cool conditions for growth climate and short days. But at the same time, sweet potatoes are absolutely another organism. Sweet potato is cumulative root, not stem. It belongs to the family Vuncovic, to which refers to everyone famous bindweed. Sweet potato does not have nothing common with potatoes, except forms and uses by man. Since it does not belong to the Solanaceae, it does not contain solanine, what makes it more safe to consume, even if it's wrong storage. Sweet potatoes are also plant tropical and subtropical origin. It requires warm weather and does not tolerate frosts. Thus, the main difference between them is two absolutely different biological families. Potatoes are the stem is a tuber with a toxin, and the sweet potato is sweet root without toxin. Their paths separated millions of years ago, and the only reason why we compare this is their similar role in cooking, although their chemical composition, as we will see further, it also varies greatly. And here it is now. Realizing that potatoes and sweet potatoes are two different things, plants, we can move on to the chemical composition and nutritional values, where differences appear more and more vividly, especially in the way our body uses their energy. The main and most important obvious difference. It starts with color. It's worth it. Say what ordinary potatoes, as a rule, have white or yellowish pulp, and sweet potato, bright, rich orange, yellow, or even purple. This one color is not just an aesthetic factor, it is direct indicator contents vitamin A. Orange color sweet potato conditioned by huge quantity, beta-carotene converted into vitamin A, which vital important for vision, immunity, and health skin. In one average sweet potato contains more than 400% of the daily requirement norms, vitamin A. At that time, as in usual, white potatoes. This vitamin practically no. This has put sweet potato on absolutely another level in terms of nutritious benefits. However, besides vitamin A, sweet potato often wins in terms of content, vitamin C, and antioxidants, especially if we are talking about varieties with purple pulp. Normal potatoes are great source vitamin C and potassium, especially if you eat it with the skin, but it can compare to the bright antioxidants of sweet potatoes. I also want to draw your attention to the fact that the difference that more total interested in nutritionists lies in the area, carbohydrates and energy. Both potatoes and sweet potatoes are rich sources. Starch, but their starch leads themselves in the body in different ways. Starch in ordinary potatoes split easily, which leads to a rapid rise in blood glucose. This is reflected in his high glycemic index, which may be comparable to white bread, especially after cooking or pureeing. Sweet potato, although it is called sweet, and contains more natural sugars such as glucose, fructose, sucrose, often have more short or medium GI. The reason is that its starch and structure contain many fibers and sustainable starches that split slower, providing more stable and long-lasting emission energy. This makes it more preferred by people who monitor their levels blood sugar, or for those who need long-term satiety. Thus, despite its sweetness, sweet potato maybe be more soft for our metabolism than neutral in taste potato. What concerns fiber, that is dietary fiber. Both root vegetable are excellent sources, but the fiber structure differs. In potatoes, big part fiber focused in the peel. Therefore, purified potato significantly loses its usefulness. In sweet potatoes, fiber distributed more evenly throughout the pulp, and it contains more soluble fiber, which contribute digestion and help control level cholesterol. In relation to minerals, both. They are good sources, potassium, which is important for the heart. But potatoes tend to lead in content potassium, and sweet potato, by content, manganese and iron. In general, normal potatoes are energy battery with a large quantity potassium, and sweet potato is multivitamin root with antioxidants and more soft carbohydrate profile. At this point, we have already looked at what potatoes and sweet potatoes are biological antagonists with absolutely different nutritional composition, but their story inseparably is related to how they lead yourself on the field and at the plate. Now I suggest move on to agronomy and cooking to understand them final differences. So conditions cultivation. These cultures are dictated their origin. Potatoes are, in their essentially, a plant cold, high mountain climate. It's better. Total grows in temperate latitudes, in cool seasons, and does not tolerate strong heat. It is susceptible to a number of diseases. For example, late blight and pests such as Colorado potato beetle, which require constant and expensive monitoring. All this makes it grow technically complex and risky, requiring significant investments in protection plants and quality seed farming. Unlike it, sweet potato is plant tropics and subtropics. He loves warmth, sun, and a long frost-free season. Sweet potato much more drought-tolerant and less subject to critical diseases that makes it relatively easy and cheap to grow in regions with suitable climate. Thanks to this unpretentiousness, sweet potato is vital, important food culture in many countries of Africa and Asia, where it provides stable yield in conditions unsuitable for potatoes. This aspect is climatic endurance, determines in what parts of the world one culture is main source calories, and the other remains delicacy. And here it is, the culinary fate of these root vegetables, also diametrically opposite, and everything is determined their chemical composition. For example, potatoes are a clean slate, their taste neutral and universal. This allows to serve him ideally the basis for a huge number of dishes: mashed potatoes, fries, casseroles. He willingly absorbs fat, salt, sour cream, and butter, becoming conductor flavor for sauces and seasonings. Thanks. Tall content, starch its texture when cooked, becomes crumbly and airy. That ideal for pureeing and crushing potatoes. Sweet potatoes, on the contrary, have a pronounced sweet taste due to natural sugars. This makes it less universal. It is rare used in acute or sour dishes, and more often total finds use in baking, frying, or even in desserts. Due to the high contents, moisture, and sugars, its texture when cooked becomes creamy and moist, not crumbly, which gives dishes a completely different character. Thus, potatoes are culinary chameleon, and the sweet potato is self-sufficient. Sweet accent. As a result, you and I see that although both cultures nourish billions of people, the economic and cultural role in the world is different. Potatoes are global staple, historically associated with the sharp growth of the population in Europe because of its high productivity on limited area. It is the most cheap source calories in many countries and remains one of the pillars world food safety. Sweet potato, despite its high nutritious. The value of vitamin A in particular is often perceived in the Western world. How healthy alternative or a special product, not like basic source nutrition. At the same time, in developing countries, especially in the tropical zone, it is critically important food culture that provides population sustainable source energy and vitamins not available in other products. The difference between them is difference between neutral starch for mass and sweet root, saturated vitamin A for specialized or tropical nutrition. And finally, I propose to consider the last difference for today, which affects logistics and accessibility these cultures around the world, concerns their storage and terms shelf life. Normal potatoes are storage champion. He was the key to food security Europe exactly, thanks to his own capabilities, be stored months, even years, provided it is kept in a cool, dark, and dry place. Darkness is critical because Impact Sveta launches production solanine and makes tubers turn green, becoming toxic. Sweet potato, being tropical root. Much more. It is capricious in storage. It does not tolerate cold and refrigeration or basement, which too much cool leads to rapid damage and internal rotting. Sweet potato requires warm and humid storage and often requires preliminary treatment. Short-term keeping, warm after collection, so that heal damage and increase term shelf life. Thus, potatoes are a long-term reserve soldier for temperate latitudes, and sweet potato is a tropical product that requires more complex and controlled conditions for preservation freshness. This is how we see that potatoes and sweet potatoes, despite their common name, are biologically unrelated plants, each from which took its unique place, niche. Potatoes are underground, stem from families. Nightshade, neutral in taste, contains many potassium and easily digestible starch. This is universal, a culinary chameleon and a champion in long-term cold storage. Sweet potato is cumulative root from families. Bindweed, sweet eye, with a huge content vitamin A and more stable metabolic profile. This is tropical superfood that requires warm storage. Selection between them is choice between clean energy starch and rich nutritious value sugar and vitamins.